Hi, this is Sandra from GREYD. GREYD.Forms is a form generator for WordPress that is natively integrated in GREYD.SUITE. In this video, I'm going to show you the setting options for our conditional container block. Conditional containers, thus inner-dependent fields, allow you to tailor your form to your user. Depending on which data the user enters or which selections he or she makes, you can hide or show different fields. I want to show how it works with two examples. In my first example, I want additional fields to be displayed as soon as the user starts entering his or her email address. So let's go to the backend and see how it works. I've already prepared the form, including all additional fields that I want to display, which are currently hidden. And what I now do is add a conditional container to my form. On the right, you can now define your condition. At first, it's about whether you want an AND or an OR condition. This is only relevant if you define more than one condition. Do you then want the container to be triggered only if all conditions are true, which would be AND? Or is it enough if one of them is met, which would be OR? Next, you define which field should act as the reference field. You can also define more than one field here, thereby creating even the most complex conditions very easily. You only need to take care to not define any contradicting conditions, since that would lead to errors and may prevent the user from being able to submit the form. For our example, the reference field is the email field, and the condition is that the field is filled, thus not empty. To hide and show fields in correlation with the user's entries, you can now select from different animations like slide or fade, and you can also define the initial state of the form. In our case, we need the additional fields to be hidden on load, since we only want them to be displayed after the user has filled the email field. Down here, you can also define what should happen after the form was submitted. By default, the form will go back to its initial state, but you can also leave all the containers open if you want to. So now, after defining the condition, we can now place all additional fields in the container. Let's update and see what happens in the front end. At first, nothing, but as soon as I type here, the additional fields appear. For my second example, I want different questions to be asked depending on which of these two options a user selects. So again, we will add a conditional container, or better said, two conditional containers to our form. The first container I define as a condition that the selected value of the first field is forms. I then want two more fields to appear, plus a submit button. In the second container, I use the same reference field, but the condition is that the value is hub instead. And I then want to ask a different question, and again I want to place a submit button. By the way, you can fill your container like I do it here by preparing all fields in advance and then drag and drop them, or you can also, of course, directly create the fields in the container. So if I now select GREYD.Forms, there are two questions asked plus the submit button. However, if the user selects GREYD.Hub, another question appears and the submit button. For more videos and information, please visit our Help Center.